Welcome, everybody. I'm Dr. Luann Fortune with Saybrook University in the Department of Mind-Body Medicine, and I am here today to present to you a brief guided meditation that's based on cognitive shuffling as a mindfulness practice. Before we get started with our guiding, I want to give you a little bit of a preview about where this material came from and what I did to develop this. So, just last week, I'd read an article about cognitive shuffling as a technique for helping people who had trouble sleeping at night. And I became curious about what is cognitive shuffling and how it could possibly be a mind body practice. So I dived into the literature and tried to find some recent pieces. Um, I also included here in my references the original New York Times article that prompted me to start looking. So this became a little bit of an exercise for me in determining what is a mind body practice. One of the interesting pieces I found was actually based on poster research that was presented at the World Sleep Conference in 2019 with a new approach that they called cognitive training intersecting with diverse kinesthetic imagining. I went, wow, this is kind of interesting. I think this is where I want to go with mind body medicine. So I found a few more studies, a few more articles, and I discovered I was not the only one who was curious about this, that in fact that there were different variations where you focus your thought process to call up quickly variations on a word. Let's just say we start with a word. So it might be a word related to a series of colors or a series of flowers. Or as one of my colleagues pointed out, she uses a series of unbelievable fantasies with her children, such as dogs mowing the grass, or maybe it is pink elephants delivering the mail. And the trick here is to call up these words or um, items or images quickly and let them go. And that becomes the mind body piece. So, one method I'm going to call dictionary meets a diverse imaging and imagining. And that's what we're going to do today. And in this, I'm going to ask you to conjure up, and I'll give you an anchor to start. We're going to start with the word blue. So on the inhale, I will suggest a word to you. And on the exhale, I'm going to suggest that you find an image that conjures up the word. And that image could be a visual color that shows up in your mind, or it could be something that is blue, like a blueberry and its shape of round, or maybe it's the smell of blue from the blueberry, or maybe it's the subtle little thump of the blueberry as it hits the ground, as it's falling off the bush. What I'm suggesting here is that moving from the dictionary to your own sensorial imaging is a full body experience and to simply trust your intuition. So, we're going to start out with an anchor, and then I'm going to invite you to go at your own pace, but to move through the process quickly. So, thinking of another word that begins with the letter B, because we started with blue, and then visualize what that word conjures up for you. So maybe B becomes a broom, and you imagine a broom in all of its roughness flying through the air. And then you come up with another B word and another B word and another B word. And then if you run out of B words, no fret, don't ruminate. Just go to the next letter that we started with in the initial word, which would be the letter L. And think of all the words that can begin with L in your cognitive side as you breathe in. And then as you breathe out, release them as the image comes to you. I'm going to allow you to continue this at your own pace, but I'm going to get you started. So make yourself comfortable, settle into whatever space you're in. And before we begin the exercise, allow yourself a few generous breaths in and out to notice where your breath is. because our breath is going to be a prompt here in this mind-body exercise. We'll be breathing in the dictionary and we'll be breathing out our image. And after a few breaths in, I invite you to breathe in the word blue. Breathing in, and as you breathe out, allow yourself to imagine blue as a color, as a splendor, as a sensation. You might sit with this. Let's try it one more time. Breathing in the word blue, and then breathing out the image of blue. And now as you breathe in again, go back to the dictionary, pick out another word beginning with B and breathe it in. It's your word. You get to pick it. And breathe in the word. And now as you breathe out an image of that word in whatever form you decide to let it take. And then let it go. And once again, breathe in another B word. Breathing in. And as you breathe out the image of that word. And continue on. Breathing in another B word. And breathing out the image of it. Breathing in the word. Breathing out the image. And continue at your own pace. Give us a few minutes to continue to breathe in B words. But if your dictionary in your mind runs out of B words, move to the L of the dictionary. And you might notice that you land on a word in L's totally unexpected. Maybe it's lichen. Maybe it's lever. Maybe it's an adjective like loose. And then breathe out the image that you conjured with that word. And if you're not there yet, if you're still in the B part of the dictionary, that's fine. But just keep moving and stay with the words. If other thoughts or associations come up for you, let them go too. Breathing in the word. And breathing out the image of the word. And if you run out of B words and run out of L words, you can move to the next one. It was you. So you might want to breathe in an umbrella or an udder. And you might want to breathe out the image of that. And if you find that your fingers have slipped and you're in a totally different part of a dictionary with another letter starting words, that's perfectly all fine too. But continue breathing in the word and breathing out the image and letting it go. Breathing in the word and breathing out the image. And when you run out of words for that letter, come up with another one. Maybe it's the E at the end of blue. You might want to breathe in evergreen and breathe out the image. And focus on just the moment. Don't get ahead of yourself. As you breathe in, notice that an E word comes up for you, or whatever alphabet letter you're on. Don't second guess it. Just come up with an image and let it go. And use that letter identification as a pointer, breathing in a letter, the word, breathing out the image of that word, and letting it go. And if you find yourself at the end of all of your letter words for E, go back to A and start all over again. Use the alphabet itself as a pointer. Calling up a letter word of A. Maybe it's an apple. And breathing out the image associated with that word. And continue on with whatever letter you're on. And when a word doesn't come up for you right away, move to the next letter. We'll be back to B's again. And maybe this time the B brings up a bee buzzing around and breathing out the image. And continue on that alphabet letter, conjuring up words that begin with it. And when a letter no longer conjures up a word for you, move to the next. Continuing on, noticing. Noticing how the word intersects with the image and how you have power over letting it go. And perhaps at this point, after you've let go all of those words and images, you find yourself in a state of deep calm. And if you are, allow yourself to settle into this space for a breath or two. And soon I will begin to bring you back. So in just a moment or two, I'm going to ask you to begin to come back to the present moment outside of you. And in a moment, as you begin to come back to the screen or to the audio that you're listening to, as your eyes begin to open or focus, you can acknowledge that you're in a meditative state. And if you're sharing this state in space with others, that they are too. So you may choose not to speak for now, or if you speak from your experience, or you might choose to remain here a little while longer with a sense of presence to yourself and others, which is ultimately the fruit of our practice. And if you're ready to come back, gently flutter your eyes on open and rejoin me.